Have you guys ever heard of the learned helplessness experiment? Have you guys ever heard of that? It was an experiment, I believe, 87, where it was a scientist who had these dogs, right? And every time they would step onto like a panel, they would get like a shock, right? They would get a shock, right? So much so, like, they would put a treat and they would try to step out and grab it, but they would get shocked, right? And so it got to the point where the dog was so conditioned to getting shocked that even when they turned off the shocking element, the dog didn't step out of the cage that it was, or the box. I forget the exact experiment, but do you catch my drift? Learned helplessness. The dog got so used to getting punished that it learned that it was helpless. Even when things were going for them, right? They could have gotten a treat, but because they were so used to getting shocked, they didn't get it. Why do I bring this up? I feel like whoever is watching this with me, whoever is rocking with me, I feel like maybe, and I'm also talking to myself, you've gone through a lot in your life to where, you might feel like sometimes you can't do the things that you want to do. Sometimes you feel like, it's not going to happen or it's impossible. And I'm here to tell you right now, that is not true. Just like how there is learned helplessness, you can unlearn that same thing. You can unlearn those feelings of negativity, those feelings of, oh, I can't do this, those feelings of, things are never going to work out, because you never know. You never know when things are going to work out, right? You might be faced with adversity after adversity after adversity, obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. Things might just go left, right, all the time. And you might feel like, you know what? Things aren't going to work out. I'm here to tell you, that's not true. That's not true. That's something I'm learning myself. Because I feel like part of my life, I was the dog. I was the dog in the experiment. I've gone through a lot of stuff. Being vulnerable, a lot of stuff with my parents, a lot of stuff with my own mental, not understanding my own, neurology, being taken advantage of by tons of people in my life, right? I was at a point where, things just weren't going to work out. But I'm in the middle of unlearning that behavior and telling myself, you know what, things aren't going to work out regardless of what happens, right? Regardless of any obstacles that come my way, regardless of any adversity or adverse that I might face, regardless of any pushback that I might get. Because I'm going to unlearn that helplessness. And I wanted to talk about that, man. It is possible. It is possible to get over, that feeling of helplessness, right? But I think what is most important is taking accountability. Taking accountability for how you have contributed to where you are right now, if you are going through a lot of stuff, how you contribute to your own suffering, how you contribute to, your own helplessness, right? Your own, whether it's like you fall back into old cycles, old vices, cheap dopamine, right? Regardless of what it is, right? You have to take accountability of what it is that's keeping you back, and understand that you can go forward. You can. But it starts with taking accountability with your own life, right? I think that's one of the hardest things that people can do. I think it's one of the best things that people can do as well. You'll see it throughout probably all of your life, whoever you are. You will see people who don't take accountability for their own actions, people who don't take responsibility for where they are, what they've done to others, right? And you can let that affect you, right? But and what I want to say, right, is that there are a lot of things that you can't control. But you know what you can control is how you react to stuff. You can control how you react to the stimuli around you, the stimulus around you. You can control how you respond to people, how you respond to things within yourself, right? Catch those behaviors before you exhibit them, right? If you find yourself falling back into negative spirals, right? Negative ways of thinking, your old energy, right? Old past energy that maybe you thought you moved past. Catch yourself, right? And be like, whoa, wait a minute, something ain't right. Take accountability for that and be like, you know what? Nah, I'm gonna do better, right? And I want to also add this, right? We're all humans. We're all humans. I've said this multiple times, right? The stock graphs, right? They go up and down, up and down, up and down, right? You might find that you might have been in like a little dip for a little bit, right? A little dip in energy, maybe a dip in productivity. Maybe you found yourself going back to just old behaviors, right? But now it's the time to go up. It's time to go up, baby. We are going up. And, I know that myself too. I was in a dip for a while. My foot was destroyed. But I'm telling you, I don't have any pictures of it just because of how gross it was at the start. It was looking like a blimp. It might be too much information, right? But now I can walk on it just fine, and tomorrow I'm going to go outside. I'm going to go ahead and do my little morning walk. It's gonna be good to be out again. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's what I want to talk about. I was in a dip myself, but now I'm going up. And if you resonate with this energy, it's that time. It's that time to go up. Take accountability for where you are right now. Maybe you were putting something off. Not anymore. Come on. I mentioned at the beginning, learned helplessness. I think it's so easy for us to feel like we have no control over anything that happens in our lives. That's not true. We have a lot more control than maybe you give yourself credit for. But it just starts with you taking accountability and actually acknowledging, you know what? I'm in this position because of me and only me, right? But if you can acknowledge that, and you also know that you can get yourself out of any situation that you're in, right? You're a lot stronger than you give yourself credit for. So that means you can get yourself out of any situation, and, it's time to go up. It's time to go up, man. It's a beautiful day out. I've done a lot today. I'm pretty happy with how everything turned out today. It's good, man. It's good to be alive. I feel like my prayers are being answered like every day. My prayers are being answered every day. And, like I've heard so much just with the content that I've been consuming, it's time to lock in. It's time to lock in. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up around here, man. It's good to be here, man. If you're seeing this, I love you. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Make sure to take care of yourself, because the only person who could take care of you is you. And always remember, you may have learned helplessness, but just as you learned that behavior, you can also unlearn it. Have a good one.